Good evening, and welcome to the Sister Sanditon. This is our Part 2 Emma 2020 review. We are also comparing and contrasting it to the Gwyneth Paltrow Emma version, which is our all-time favorite. Now, as you can see, we are trying to dress in the vein of the 2020 Emma.
Yes.
2020. I don't know what that was.
2020 Emma.
Of the 2020 Emma. As you can see, and also kind of like the Gwyneth one, doesn't Gwyneth wear something?
Gwyneth wears
like
some.
this?
Yes, they do a lot of bows.
She does a lot of little bows.
I think they do some Grecian things.
We've got kind of brighter colours on.
They had very bright,
to,
bright colours.
Cheer ourselves up and get us in the mood.
Yes, vivacity and vibrancy.
Yes. So make sure that you have watched our Part 1 review, as we are going to take off from the exact spot where we left off on that one.
Right before the Christmas Eve party at Mr. Weston's.
Yes. So, on to Christmas, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, in the 2020 version, Emma's teal coat, we're talking about clothes again, but we can't help it. They're so gorgeous. Her teal coat and hat
I just thought that was the most beautiful thing.
Yes,
it was. That was my favorite.
Yes, and she visits Harriet, and Harriet is sick, right?
Yes.
And I did like this part.
It was
something
different.
that I liked in the 2020 version is that she went and said, Harriet said how much she would miss hearing Mr. Elton's sermons, right?
I thought that was really cute. She said she's been taking down the notes every week. She takes the sermon notes, and she said, "Who will take down the notes? Who do the transcripts?
Transcribe them for me." And so Emma says,
"I shall do it."
So that part was cute.
It was cute.
And then at the party, they have a letter from Frank, right, which everyone wants to read.
Yes.
And in the 2020 version, right, Mr. Knightley says that Frank's letters are full of
falsehoods. That's not very agreeable.
Yes. And he says he doesn't hear any merit in them, right?
Yes.
And
he's quite hard on Frank.
Yes, he
But
is.
again, we saw from the very beginning he doesn't think he's very honourable.
Yes, and Emma says something to kind of rebuff that, right?
Yes. Well, we don't get to see very fine young men in Highbury.
So we're at odds again here. What else is new, right?
Yes.
But anyway, you also notice that in the Gwyneth version, not only do Emma and Knightley have a closer relationship, but she also has a better relationship with Mrs. Weston.
Yes.
They're talking, you see them talking at this party, they often have these intimate conversations, right? Where they're
because
talking
for
about Frank, or they're talking about Knightley, or they're talking about all
for 17 years, she's been her sort of mother figure.
Best friend.
And best friend,
right.
yes.
Yeah.
And she said, not only have you been a governess, you've been more. She was more than that.
And so they, at all of the gatherings, you see that. Well, now this dinner party at Christmas seems very dry, right? No one's having a very good time.
In the 2020 version,
right? In the 2020,
again, the same as the wedding feast. Everyone looked like they were not having fun. It's Christmas Eve.
Whereas in the Gwyneth version, this is another one of my favorite scenes. She's trying to overhear Frank's letter, right?
Yes.
She keeps listening in, and then Mr. Elton keeps coming and asking her if she's too cold.
And he goes, and then Frank said, "I thought perhaps you were too warm." No, I'm not too warm.
No, and then she tries to go
back.
And
then Frank said,
she's supposed to help, and that was the end of the letter. She's like, ugh.
Yes. It is
absolutely
hilarious.
Comical, right?
Yes.
And so that's one of my favorite scenes, which we missed again.
Yes. They didn't put it in the.
And then in the 2020 version, right? Emma defends Mr. Churchill, right? And Mrs. Weston says, "Dearest Emma, do not attempt with your good nature, right, to understand a bad one." Yeah.
Well, they're talking about Mrs. Churchill saying, "Well, but she loves him so much, but that's why she needs him all the time, because she never lets him come to Highbury." And she's trying to say, "Oh, but maybe it's because she's so nice. She loves him."
Right.
And she's like, "Don't try to understand. You won't. You're too good, right?" I'm like, what?
Yes.
She is?
Yes.
I haven't seen it.
So, in other words, saying why they don't let Frank come to Highbury.
Right. Yes. But again, they're trying to say that Emma is so
Emma
good.
has such a great nature, which you see in the Gwyneth version, but you don't see that in this version.
No.
And then I think it's funny when Mr. Elton says, "I dare say it will snow tonight," right?
And all the heads at all the dinner parties turn and look at him, and he's like, we must away, we must go.
And everyone jumps up, and that's the end of the party.
That is funny.
So I did
do that.
I did like. Didn't they do that in both versions? Or did they not do that one, Gwyneth?
No.
Ooh, I can't remember.
They do leave. It's beginning to snow. We must hurry. They do that head trick like 2 or 3 times in the new version where several people like turn heads.
Yes.
It's funny,
That's
but
cute. Yeah, it's
maybe
funny.
once.
It's
I don't
funny.
know.
Well, why do the Knightleys leave Emma and Mr. Elton
I wondered.
alone?
I thought that was odd. Because they came over together, she and Mr. Elton and
Or, I mean, not Knightleys,
John.
but Knightley and...
Knightley,
yes.
the 2 brothers, the 2 Knightley brothers,
right.
the Knightleys,
Yes.
with her father.
Right.
Why did they leave her behind
That
with him?
didn't
Was
make
that
any
proper
sense.
for them to be in a carriage alone?
I wondered the same thing. We don't see that in the Gwyneth version.
Yes. They are alone.
Well, they are alone.
But it's
isn't there
because
a
there
reason?
wasn't room
Yes,
or something.
That's
He
what
had
I
to
mean.
go
There's a
and
reason why.
there was a reason.
They have to ride together.
Yes, there was a good reason,
Yes.
but I don't
Yes.
remember what it was in this one. Yes, but there was a reason.
And he proposes, of course, in the carriage.
And I didn't think it was a very sweet proposal because he was like, Miss Woodhouse, I'm ready to die if you will refuse me. And she's like, what? And goodness, it was more comical and more sweet at the same time in the Gwyneth version. And in the version with, the 2020, he was just like, I love you. And I'm like, huh? What?
Yeah.
I was so dry.
Yes.
And she was very mean to him. I thought she was not, like,
well, but in the Gwyneth version, she didn't like it either.
No,
What is she supposed to do?
But at least she said, like, this is my mistake. And he goes, it is her mistake. It is mine as well. And she says this is a mistake.
Yeah,
it's all a mistake.
just kind of,
and she's like, please, just go back.
just be quiet, right?
I mean, she doesn't really, she feels bad. And I think she feels worse.
Yes.
And she's going,
but in this one, he freaks out Elton and he jumps out of the carriage.
He screams at the top of his lungs. There's lots
that's
of yelling in this version.
I mean, from
He
that of the
screams.
cloth, I don't know about that.
No, I don't think it was quite appropriate.
But in the Emma one, it's hilarious because doesn't she talk? Yes,
the Gwyneth.
In the Gwyneth one, I
She
always call
is
Emma because
Emma
I consider
now.
that my Emma.
I know.
But doesn't she say something? She says about Harriet, and he says everybody has their
limit.
Didn't you use that?
Yes,
in one of
I
our-
quoted that. And something.
You quote that a lot.
I do.
Yes,
They
everyone
have
has
a lot
their
of funny
limit.
quotes. Who can think of Miss Smith when Miss Woodhouse is
Yes,
near?
and Emma seems much more frantic that she's been wrong about Elton and poor Harriet.
Yes.
In the Gwyneth version.
Yes.
Because she's sad that, like, what have I
because she
done to
feels
Harriet
bad.
now?
She says, I've made a
great.
mistake.
Yeah, how am I going to get out of this?
Mm-hmm.
So Emma goes to see Harriet, right?
Tell
And
her the
news.
unfortunate news that Mr. Elton's affections are...
Yes. And in the Gwyneth version,
elsewhere.
Emma is a true friend to Harriet. She is compassionate, and she says she should count herself lucky to become more like Harriet.
Yeah.
Now, that's a pretty big thing to say for a highborn lady to be looking to someone less, of lesser stature and everything than her,
Status,
and say, I need to be more like her.
Yes, because she
She
was so
learns
gracious.
from her mistakes.
And she said, only a friend as good as you could have thought it possible. And,
Yes.
and they were both very sweet. And,
Yes.
and she said, I'm so sorry. And she's like, I did not return the affection. Like, of course, but I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
And in the 2020 version, I thought she was rather harsh. She was like, he sought to aggrandize himself and enrich himself. And she was she was kind of speaking really harshly to Mr. Elton.
And then doesn't she later sternly tell Harriet to stop
Yes.
talking about him, right?
Poor Harriet's reading the sermon notes again, rereading them because, she can't get over him.
Right.
Because
throws him
Emma
out of the river right into the
throws him out
canal.
of the carriage, right into the canal.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So,
Yes.
I don't know about that, but
It's a little odd.
anyway, in the other version, right, Harriet forgets about Elton and moves on to another
little bit
suitor, but
later.
it takes her some time.
Yes.
She
And
even
it's kind
talks about how
it's a
hard
sweet-
it's been for
yes,
her, right?
it's a
I've
sweet
saved all
moment.
these little
She saved all the
mementos
little.
and-
She made treasures out of the
Yes.
little bandage that he
Yes.
snipped, that he played with
Yes.
his pencil.
Birds.
And Emma just going, okay, dear.
Yes.
And she's like,
Yes.
right. And she's
trying to be
sweet to her,
sweet and-
even though you see the hilarity,
and then
hilarious.
that's where she makes the line, right?
Yes, she's got this inner dialogue that comes out in the Gwyneth version. It's like her thoughts that come out, and a little snarky here or there or whatever. They're funny, and Harriet burns the thing. She goes, "Goodbye, Mr. Elton," and in Emma's head you hear, "Hello, Mr. Churchill," and it's so cute.
It's so cute.
And that's how
yes.
she's thinking. She's thinking
Yes.
of him for her.
Yes, and that leads me to
That happened later after Frank
Yes.
Churchill came.
That leads me to one of the other things that was so amazing about the Gwyneth version is the scene segues.
Yes.
Did you notice? It was genius. First
Yes.
of all, this is how they have packed an entire novel into this movie. You didn't miss a thing. I mean, you felt like you literally got the whole Jane Austen novel and
Yes.
these amazing segues, right? So it will cut from one scene to another,
Yes.
right? Seamlessly.
Like
yes,
when
like
Miss Bates. She goes to see Miss Bates,
Yes.
right? And Miss Bates says, "Oh, Jane is coming to Highbury. She's coming to stay. Oh, and Emma acts excited. Oh, I can't wait to see her." And she goes, "And Miss Woodhouse, you must sit right there, and you must say." And then it cuts to her saying,
Yes.
"We're so happy that you could be in Highbury."
With Jane there.
Seamlessly
They
right.
fast forward in this amazing scene cut.
Yes.
It's amazing. And then,
It's
like,
very
when
clever.
this is all the Gwyneth version we're talking about, when Frank goes to help Harriet up after
Yes,
she's been attacked
later.
by the gypsies, which
Yes.
of course they cut out of this one completely.
Yes.
Another scene which they did away with.
Yes,
We
they
don't
just
know what
show
they
him
filmed
carrying
it
her in.
Right.
And it's
so
like, what?
Harriet gets attacked, and Frank goes and picks up her hand, and the next
Allow
scene,
me.
she's sitting on the sofa,
And
you
it's
know,
his hand.
and it's his hand.
They're still
and,
holding,
yeah.
and he lets her go. And now
Oh,
she's
thank
safe.
you for helping me,
Yes.
So we fast forwarded again. I mean, it's just
Same
They
thing
do
at
that many times.
the Coles' party when she's looking for her invitation.
Yes.
And she goes, why have I not been invited? You know, of course we must refuse them because they are beneath us. But I cannot tell you how delighted I am to have been invited, Mrs. Cole.
Yes.
And they cut, and it's just...
It's genius.
It really
pure
is.
Genius.
It's very smart. And it's a great way to show...
Movie making at its best.
Yes, to show the passage of time in a funny way.
Yes.
And seamless.
Yep.
Yes, they do that throughout the whole thing.
I agree.
It is great.
Let's see. All right, so we talked about the scene segues, right?
So Jane has come to town.
Yeah.
So Jane Fairfax is here. And, you know, in the meeting, like we said, in the Gwyneth Paltrow version, she goes, we're so happy that you could come. And, you know, how did you find, you know, this and that?
She's gracious, right?
Yeah, she's asking her questions. And
even though, of course, she's not thrilled about it.
No.
But she doesn't show that she's not
plays
thrilled
the
about
part.
it.
No, she plays the part, right? And in the 2020 version, she just sits there.
Yes. Yes.
And they're sipping tea, and no one says anything.
Yes. I don't know. They just lost some moments that they could have done much better.
Yes.
All right, so Frank Churchill arrives, right?
Yes.
And in the Gwyneth version, Emma thinks Churchill likes her, right?
Yes.
And she fancies herself in love with him, right?
She does as time goes on.
Yes, and what does she say?
What does she say?
Well, he loves me.
He loves me. That's right. She's writing in a diary.
I
felt dull and listless and had some sort of headache after he left, so I must be in love too. Although I must confess, what does she say? I expected love to feel somewhat different from this. I may determine how deep a love I feel through his absence.
So we think,
does she
not
love
in
him?
love with Frank? No, but it's
Perhaps
so
not.
darling.
It is
the way
cute.
they do that. Her writing the journal, and we're seeing her feelings.
It's a great way to show.
They cut that out completely
Yes,
at the
they cut out.
2020. That Emma even likes Frank, kind of. I mean, they didn't really show that she thought she was in love with him, and then oops, never mind.
Not really. I mean, they show her have a little bit of
that
a
was what was
dance with him.
intended, right?
Yes.
Frank's parents wanted Emma and him to get together.
His
so that
father
was a big
and
blow to them too.
Yes.
Which they left that out because they didn't ever show that Emma cared.
And like you said, I don't know what they put.
Frank.
There's so much jam-packed into this 2-hour movie. They fit everything, every poignant piece, every funny piece, every romantic piece, every sentimental piece. They fit everything
into the
Gwyneth Paltrow version.
Right.
And somehow they've missed so many things in the 2020.
No. And in fact, in the Gwyneth version, right, they have the hilarious joke about Emma. She's not getting an invite, like you had mentioned a little minute ago, to the Coles party to check her mail, right?
Yes. And
she's
checking all the mail. She goes, and her father comes and says, anyone see the mail? Oh, no, I never pay attention to the mail.
Did they have that in the
walks by and she
2020?
looks at the mail.
I can't even remember.
No.
They don't. I didn't think so. Now, at the party in the 2020, what did you think of Emma's singing?
I'm sorry to say it grated on my nerves like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh, dear.
I mean...
Well, the duet with Knightley and Jane was pretty,
It was nice, but I don't think that was in the book.
No.
What was in the book was in the Gwyneth Paltrow version when Emma is singing and playing and Frank Churchill just stands up and joins right in.
Yes.
Which is a little shocking, but it shows that he's a spunky guy.
Yes, but it shows us more about what we want to see, who's Knightley, right?
Yes, it does.
Not too happy.
When Emma is singing and you see Knightley just...
Yeah.
And then as soon as Frank starts singing, he bristles and he's... I mean, it's everything is so funny in this.
It's so cute.
And we didn't really say much about Frank's arrival. I have to say, when I was writing my first set of notes after watching the 2020 version, I didn't write anything about him at all. Not one word. What does that tell you? He was not very memorable to me.
No.
I mean...
Whereas the other guy was such a presence.
Oh.
Who played it? Ewan McGregor?
Ewan McGregor. And he was...
What
smiling
did you say?
and
There was
smirking.
a quote that really summed it up. How the Ewan McGregor.
Well, to me, what came to mind was Mr. Bennett's quote from Pride and Prejudice. I think he's talking about Wickham. Something I can't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of "He smirks and smiles and makes love to us all."
Yes,
you know what I mean.
That's just love it.
That's what I thought. He just everyone loves Frank Churchill.
In the Gwyneth version, he is so.
Yes. And
like
that's part of why Knightley doesn't like
character.
him.
Right.
Because
everybody loves him.
Yes, because everybody loves him.
Exactly.
And yes, and he comes and Mrs. Weston, and it's so good to see you. And,
Exactly. Now, in the 2020, Knightley has called Mr. Churchill a trifling silly fop.
Yes.
Right? And when they meet,
very hard on him.
He is not too happy.
They're very awkward. I don't know.
About him.
And I don't know. I can't remember if it was like this in the book. But to me, it seemed like Mr. Knightley would have been too well bred to make it that awkward with Mr. Churchill.
Yes.
He kind of was like,
and he didn't do that at all in the Gwyneth one, right? In fact,
not,
he says, "I thought you loved him."
Yeah.
But he didn't. He never went and
Yes.
said,
Yes.
why? I mean, so I thought that was more gentlemanly of him in the Gwyneth version.
And
but there is a moment when in the 2020 version they look like they're competing, right, for Emma.
Yes.
When they both paused to let her walk into the room.
Mm-hmm. And they
That
both
was interesting.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Something
I
brewing.
like that little part just because it's a little more of the romance there.
Yes, yes.
But, all right, let's move on to Mr. Elton. He arrives with his new wife.
Yes.
And
in
the 2020, you go.
I thought it was very funny how they all arrived to church and she's sitting in the Woodhouse pew, which is the place of honor, the front pew, you know, that's where they sit every week. And everyone walks in and everyone's like, who is this woman? Who is this stranger? Number one, a stranger in Highbury. And someone's sitting in the Woodhouse's pew. And everyone's like, you know, shocked and, aghast.
That was funny. But you said
funny.
that you still thought that the Gwyneth version was funnier because how was that one done?
I thought it was funny. Yes.
When Emma took Harriet to Miss Bates. Right? So she wouldn't be able to think or talk with Mr. Elton.
And they say that he's been the toast of every young lady's eye and all that stuff, you know, and they talk about it a little bit more.
And Mrs. Elton is so great in the Gwyneth version. I mean, she's absolutely hysterical, right?
Yes.
Everything my friends think so. You do a much better
I do those quotes.
impersonation of her, right?
Yes. As my friends certainly say, I'm not entirely devoid to taste. You know, I mean,
but I still thought she was okay in this one. She said that she was known for her timidity. Didn't she say that? Or was that the Gwyneth one?
No,
she said,
I'm a great advocate for timidity.
Yeah, she liked plain and her hair was all done in that crazy thing with the jewels in this 2020 version. And that was good.
I do remember when we read the book, how she always referred to Mr. Elton as my caro sposa.
Yes.
Which was, my dear husband in Italian, and she wanted to show how, worldly she was.
They put that in the 2020.
They put that in this one.
I did like that. Thumbs up on that, yes. But you still can't get past how wonderful Mrs. Elton is in the Gwyneth version.
Perfect.
Nightly.
Yes.
But you know what I put in my pocket?
Wrap up and put in my pocket. Nightly. And she goes, nightly. Now, there was one friend of you who does not be ashamed, my dear Miss Tree. And she's always
an addition, if I
may be so to call myself an addition.
Yes.
Highbury's a little different.
Yes. And then it's hilarious when Emma says, "There's only one thing I can do. I must throw a party footy."
A party for her, or everyone will see immediately how much I dislike her.
Yes.
It's hilarious. That's
great. Yes. When talking about the upcoming ball, Knightley and Emma are hanging out. Right?
Again, they hang out all the time,
which they do a lot in the Gwyneth version,
yes.
right?
And
he says he just wants to stay there where it's cozy.
Yes.
I thought that this is from the Gwyneth version. I thought that was cute. They're talking about it. And he says how he just likes to be at home.
Yeah, and he's throwing the stick to his dog, and he goes, ball, I can't. He doesn't want to dance. He doesn't like dancing, and he says, I'd rather fetch that stick. And she goes, I'll try to remember to bring it to the ball.
Another darling moment. A little
flirtatious,
and banter.
We see the relationship form and continue.
Yes, and then at the ball, right, Mrs. Elton.
Yes.
Oh, that's what
it is.
In the 2020, she says he's a simplistic person.
Yes.
It doesn't like a lot of jewelry.
Yeah, and her hair is like 10 feet tall. And,
So,
and she,
I
hate to always be the one leading the way for everyone. She's the first one to dance.
And then, of course, the ball, we love the Gwyneth version because she immediately sees that Harriet hasn't been asked to dance, right? And she's so concerned.
Yes.
And she tells Mrs. Weston, her friend, help,
Harriet is all alone,
Yes.
And
she cares about her.
Yes, she can't
enjoy
her dance.
herself.
And she's dancing with Frank.
That's right.
And she likes him, right? So she's having, moments with Frank. And she just keeps
looking, what can I do? What can I do?
And Elton snubs her. Of course, he snubs her the same.
And then, of course, her best friend, Jeremy Northam, walks up and asks Harriet. And
Mr. Knightley comes
and
asks her to dance. And then the music changes.
And he's my fan.
Yes!
He is.
Did you see that man dance? He looked like a ballet dancer. I mean, he was smooth as hot honey. I mean, he was just going. I mean, he gliding across the room.
Yes.
And when she tells him, you have shown yourself to be a fine dancer.
Yes. You got
he is a wonderful dancer. He's the best dancer
in the
place.
And Emma is so proud of him
and
loves him. I mean,
Doesn't
as a
she
friend, she's not romantically in love with him right now, but just loves him all the more for such a wonderful friend. And says, I was proud to call you my friend.
Yes, at that moment, because he took pity on Harriet, even though she knows that he knows Harriet is beneath him.
Yes, so the Gwyneth version just knocked it out of the park for me. And then, in fact,
it takes it even
I'm sorry
further.
that we're talking so much about the Gwyneth version, but I can't help it because it's just so much better.
It really is.
So, in the Gwyneth version, they go outside and they have the little conversation outside at the ball, right?
Yes.
And they have a wonderful moment where he says that she would have chosen better for Mr. Elton than he chose for himself.
Yes.
And that was a very sweet line,
And she said that she was sorry too, and
And then our favorite part.
She says, you were right, there's a littleness about Mr. Elton that you discovered and I did not.
Once again,
so they both,
telling the person I've learned from my mistakes, you were right, I was wrong.
So typical in Austen.
Yes.
They both admit their faults to each other.
Sydney and Charlotte type of thing.
Yes.
We see it right
It's classic Austen. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Yes. But then, of course, comes your favorite line,
My favorite line. Mr. Weston comes over and says, Emma, you must lead the next dance. Yes. And he goes, well, who will you dance with? And she says, with you, if you will ask me. you've shown yourself to be a fine dancer. Yeah, not so much brother and sister as to make it improper.
She
And
walks
he goes,
off and he says,
no. And then she walks off and he goes, brother and sister. And he goes, no, indeed we are not.
get out your phone, dear.
And then you know, oh, he
Uh-huh.
likes her.
That's right.
And you've had an inkling of it before, but now it's like,
That's
oh,
right.
this
Yes.
is for real now.
Now-
and it's so romantic when he says that.
Yes.
It gets me all giddy and
Yes, you just
goosebumpy.
get
and
so
I'm-
excited when
yes.
he says that. Now, I must admit, right here in the Gwyneth version, I would have liked a little more romance in the dance. I would have liked to see the romance. But you said
Here is
you
my
had a
take on
different
this.
take.
Yes, well, to compare, right, in the 2020, he doesn't say that line, no, indeed we are not,
Right.
which is in the book, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
It's in the book. And the book, that chapter ends right there when he says, no, indeed we are not.
Yes, and
It
I forgot
ends.
to mention, you're right. I
That's
left
fine.
out the 2020 version because I'm so enthralled with the Emma
Yes,
one, with
yes,
the Gwyneth one.
with the
But he says they basically fall in love in the dance.
Yes.
In the 2020. That's
yes.
their moment.
I think
of
that
both
is their, yes. It's
realization,
just
right?
like the Sydney and Charlotte dance.
Yes.
It's like
Or
the
they tried to make it
realization,
like
they,
it's not as
yes.
no.
They tried to make it, but it's not close.
Yes.
It's not even close.
No.
There's no chemistry between the two.
No.
I just don't see it. They're looking at each
Well,
other
plus
like,
you haven't
oh.
seen this love build. All they've
No.
done is yell at each other the whole time.
Exactly.
So in the
So-
2020, they fall in love. But in the
the
Gwyneth
dance.
one, in the dance, I thought
I-
they didn't do much.
And you
but
said you wish they had
Yes.
had more romance in the
Yes.
dance. My take on it is they don't need to. Because in the 2020 version, we haven't seen any romance build. We haven't seen any friendship build. This is the first time we get to see something build for them. And it's
Yes.
like, oh, all of a sudden he's in love with her.
Yes.
And she's thinking, huh, what's
Yep.
going on?
Yep.
And in the Gwyneth Paltrow version, he already knows he's in love with her. He's been in love with her for years,
You're right.
right?
So it's
And
not
it's not
this
news
moment
for
of
him.
realization
No.
for him. It's just another dance
Right.
like they've
and for
always
her,
done.
she is still oblivious, I think. She is not quite,
Yes.
she's
Just loves him as a wonderful
Yes.
friend. Yeah.
right? She's still
Yeah.
just kind of
You're
thinking,
right.
you
No,
know,
you're right. So it wasn't like they needed that
it
moment
wasn't
to fall in
necessary.
love.
They
Yeah.
needed it in the other version because they
You're
hated
right.
each other up to this
You're
point.
right. You've hit the nail on the head with
Thank
that
you.
one, Dan.
Thank you.
Bravo.
I'm quite proud of myself, if I do
All
say
right.
so myself.
And where was Knightley running after this?
This
right?
was an
this
odd
very
bit.
different.
It was very odd.
really shifted here from the Gwyneth and other adaptations.
Well, and the one thing I did like about it was daytime by the time they left. It was in
Yes.
the wee hours of the morning. It was
Yes,
daytime already.
And that's what they did.
They stayed all night, right? The
Yes.
suppers came
Yes,
at,
I'm
midnight
watching
or whatever.
Belgravia right now, and she says, we're going to eat it
The midnight suppers, yes.
Yes.
And they last all day. Okay, so he comes and sees her in the coach and just has this moment of like, looking at her and she's just kind of
Yeah.
like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And the coach takes off and all of a sudden, he starts running after her.
Yes.
Which we know.
Which was wonderful and fun.
It was
But
romantic.
so as we see, it's like they're going to have this moment.
Yes.
It leads up to
He
this
runs
huge-
all the way to her house.
Yes.
He comes, she's up there, she takes her shoes off and she sees him.
And
She runs
she's
down,
ready to have the
they run
moment
out and
too.
meet each other, and what are they going to say?
Yes, but Harriet and Frank ruin it.
Yes.
So that was
It
very,
was very
different,
strange.
right?
And
I don't
then
know.
they just completely ignore it though.
Yes.
Like Frank comes in and this is when they show the gypsies in this version that she
Right.
was set upon by gypsies.
Right.
And,
This is the
Oh.
2020 version. She realizes she's not in love with him.
Right.
Doesn't she say?
no, well,
Well, yeah. Remember,
Yes.
Frank comes in and she realizes, she could set Harriet up with him
yes.
because
but
he
I
came
don't
in
think,
carrying her.
I mean, I don't think they even showed that she was really that
No,
much into
you're right.
Frank
You're
Churchill.
right. No, that's what we said
No,
before.
that's
But you're
what we
right.
said,
But
but-
anyway,
yes.
she sees this moment and says,
And she says,
here's the next
oh,
match.
here's the
Right.
next match.
In the 2020 version,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And then in the Gwyneth version, she says, remember, the service you rendered, and they're both
She's
talking
talking
about
about-
a different person.
I was sure you were beginning to form an attachment to someone. She goes, oh yes, the service he rendered you, of course. And he's a fine match for you.
In the Gwyneth one,
And we
you
think
see-
we think they're both talking about Frank Churchill and the service
Right.
he rendered her.
Right,
Later on, we find something different, which we'll talk
right.
about. But
All right, so I did like in the 2020, I thought it was cute when Knightley got home.
Well, she sent him home. She sent him away. She was
Well,
like,
yeah,
you
that's the
go.
thing, there's this big buildup and then nothing happens.
And he was ticked off.
with that.
Yes.
But I liked how he got home and was throwing off all of his
Yes.
clothes and laying down, and it just showed really the angst, and he was frustrated.
And he was like,
And I
"Ah."
thought that was cute. But
Yeah.
the whole thing to me was strange because they almost had this great moment, and then they regress.
Yes.
And they don't do anything about it.
Yes.
And they back off as if nothing had happened when
Except
the
for
two were
one
running
look.
to each other to do
Yes.
whatever.
Who knows? Were they going to kiss?
Right,
Was he gonna-
kiss,
was he going to
profess their
profess?
love.
Yeah, profess his love.
But they don't do anything with that. So they have a couple of looks.
She
and
makes
that's
one
about
look
it.
when she's eating a strawberry. She's like,
And
That's
then
about
after
it.
the visit to Donwell Abbey, which is absolutely gorgeous, right? And
which is
opulence.
Mr. Knightley's estate. I mean, this to me, it was. I had never pictured Knightley as like having this grand estate like
Right.
a Downton Abbey.
But we said it goes along with the whole feel of the film. They wanted it over the top, and it was. And I liked it. I thought it worked.
And it worked because he was showing it. It was so beautiful that
yes.
everyone wanted to come and have a tour.
Right. And then
So it
the
worked.
insult comes. Here comes the insult, right? With Miss
On
Bates.
Box Hill.
Out of nowhere, right?
Yes.
And for me, at least, in the Gwyneth version, you see more of the reason why Emma acted the way she did. Not that it was right.
No.
She didn't think it was right, and neither did Knightley after she did it.
But she just spoke out of anger.
She is upset in the Gwyneth version because Elton and his wife are basically, dissing her.
Jinx.
Yes. And so then she's ticked off at them and takes it out on Miss Bates.
And just kind of goes,
which isn't right.
You'll be limited
but
there.
you see a little more of like,
You see it a
she
little
was
bit
so
more.
upset by that she...
Where it came from. Because the other, it just came out of the blue.
Just
like, why would you be
meanness.
mean to her
Just
for no
downright
reason?
meanness again, right.
Yes.
And then in the 2020 version, we both think, right, that Knightley just, here we go again.
He went off the rails at her again. Yeah,
right?
yes.
And then Emma breaks into tears, which I thought were poorly done. Exactly.
Sorry.
Just like that. Very poorly done. They didn't seem genuine. In the Gwyneth version,
Yes, they didn't seem genuine.
Goodness, when he chastised her, right, she was devastated.
And
not only that she'd let him down,
yes.
that she'd hurt her friend,
Yes.
Mrs. Bates, right?
Yes.
And then they have this beautiful moment.
And let's remember, it's coming out of a place of love.
Yeah, and you see
it's
it
not just
coming out of
anger
that.
for him.
By the words he says, I must tell you the truth while I can,
While I still
proving
can.
myself your friend by the most faithful counsel, trusting that sometime you will do my faith in you greater justice than you do it now. That makes me cry every time.
I'm like tearing up right
My
now.
husband cried
It's so
when we
beautiful.
watched it. Yeah. It's
Like you see,
absolutely
he tells her
gorgeous.
what is what, but he cares about her, and he tells her in a loving way. And you know, like when you tell your child, "I'm so disappointed in you," it makes them cry.
Yes.
More than saying,
Yes.
"I'm mad that you did this.
Yes.
I'm angry."
And then
And when
Gwyneth
he's
Paltrow
disappointed-
cries beautifully.
She
not
has
like
that,
this other one. I mean, she's
how could I have done
yes.
that? Yeah, I've messed up, and she knows she
That
has
he's
messed up.
disappointed in her.
He's disappointed.
The words are just absolutely beautiful. Absolutely
Yes.
beautiful. Anyway,
Yes.
so once again, Gwyneth version just knocks it out of the park in my opinion.
Yes.
Um,
All the sentiment is
Yeah.
there.
And when Knightley leaves to go to his brother's house, right, I loved how he kissed Emma's hand, right?
And they
And
reconcile.
smile
They
and
reconcile again because
every
the
time when they have a big fight, they reconcile.
They come back, and
Yeah.
the father says she has gone to call on Miss and Miss Bates. She goes to try to repair the friendship,
And he says
and-
a true friend does not doubt but hopes. I mean,
and yes,
how beautiful is their
she
relationship?
looks at him and he kisses her
Yes.
hand. It's beautiful.
And did you notice that
And
right before he leaves, he says, "Well then"?
Yes,
she says,
and
"Well
she says,
then."
"Well then."
Did you ladies notice that?
Sanditon, Andrew Davies must have seen this.
I
It's another
bet
wonderful
he did.
moment.
Took
Well
some
then.
notes, didn't
Well
he?
then. Yes,
Um,
and he looks at her for a moment,
yes.
and he's just like,
Yes, wishing for love.
and he's got to
Yes.
stop. Just like
Yes.
I've got to go.
That's right.
And you see that. Oh man, he's got it in a bad way.
And when they're alone, Emma admits her love for him, and it's so sweet. And she writes, right?
when she's alone.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry. When
She's
she's
writing in
alone,
a diary.
Yes, in the Gwyneth version.
Yes.
Right. And that she's trying to repair the relationship with Miss Bates. We see that she tries to go. She's a caring person.
Right.
And then they have the really darling moment in the Gwyneth version where she says, "I tried not to think of Knightley when the cook made his favorite food," or "I tried not to think of Knightley
when I was arranging dinner with the cook, and cook
Yes.
goes, "Oh, is Mr. Knightley coming? Why?
Yes.
Lamb stew's his favorite."
Oh, such
Just every
beautiful-
little thing. When I
beautiful
thrice plucked the
scenes.
daisies out of the garden, I don't think we should keep daisies. They really are droll little flowers.
Yes.
I have the whole thing memorized.
So then they get news that Frank has been secretly engaged, right?
Yes.
And it's so much funnier in the Gwyneth version. It just is, right?
Yes.
When Emma goes to break the news to Harriet, she doesn't show much emotion in the 2020, right?
No.
When she found out Harriet's in love with Knightley.
No. She didn't
And in
seem
the
to freak
Gwyneth
out.
version,
She
when
was
she
just
finds
like-
out, yeah, she says,
Because Harriet-
"Good God, what is to be done?"
Right, because Harriet has said, Mr. Churchill, why should I care that he's engaged?
Right.
And she's like, what?
Right.
And she's like, what? Wait a minute.
And
Are we
in the-
talking about Mr. Knight in
Yes.
the Gwyneth? She's
Yes.
like, hold up. Are we talking about Mr. Knight? And she is shocked and she is like freaking out.
Yeah.
She goes, good God, what is to be done? I mean,
Right.
she is
And isn't that kind of her moment, would you say, of realization?
even
That
yes.
She started,
even
kind of
even
thinking,
more yes.
she can't have him.
Yes. and another what have I done?
Yeah.
Like I've encouraged her
Yes,
because
right,
I thought it was
right,
Frank.
Exactly. And then in the new version, right, the 2020, Harriet says, "You think of Mr. Knightley for yourself," or something, right?
Yes. I'm sorry, I don't think Harriet was quite that
No.
in tune with Emma's
No.
feelings.
"I refused Mr. Martin because of you, and now
Yeah.
you're doing..."
Blaming
So
her?
Harriet's
No.
got
She-
a lot
I don't-
more to say,
Yes.
and is not very happy with
Yes,
Emma.
and I mean they do fall out. We know this, but
Yeah.
I don't think it was
Yeah.
that much.
The whole exchange between Emma and Mrs. Weston, where she said
Talking
Harriet
about-
cannot be in love with Mr. Knightley because no one must marry
Mr. Knightley.
That's what she
But
says in
me.
the Gwyneth Paltrow version,
Yes.
which we
Yes.
absolutely love. It's so cute,
And Mrs.
right?
Weston's like,
Right.
she's so,
And he's going, to John for counseling, and this is
And
in
she
the Gwyneth
even says-
version. She's so upset. What's
Yes.
going on? What's he
And
saying
she
to
even
John?
says, I feel so undeserving, in my makeup, and all this stuff. And she
Yes.
talks about all this stuff later.
Realizes-
She doesn't,
and
but
she's
what-
with her
what's am I going
friend,
to do?
Miss Weston,
Yes.
talking about her love and how she
Yes.
realizes she's in love with him.
And she says, John has left for counsel.
Yes.
I hope John warns me to be careful. We have no idea who our parents are. They could be pirates. Because she's thinking,
I hate John.
Yeah, I hate John. She goes, or he could be unhappy because he fears telling me he will marry my friend. How could John let him do that?
Yes, I love John. I hate John.
Yeah, all these
It's-
different things.
Yes, it's so cute. And in the Gwyneth version, when Knightley returns to propose, they have this cute, awkward exchange. Did you notice?
Yes.
Just like in Sanditon and
And
Pride and Prejudice, where they're walking together and they're trying to make small talk, right? Let's go to the 2020 version proposal.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrific for me. I tried to get into it. I was getting into it, and I thought,
I wanted to.
And he was saying some sweet things, and I grabbed my husband's hand, and we were liking it, and then the nosebleed starts, and we said, what
What? I mean, what in the...
We didn't know what to get on.
God's name were they thinking?
Yeah.
They wanted to make her so spastic that she just
didn't even know
gave
what it
herself a
meant.
nosebleed because she was so upset about everything.
That was the dumbest thing ever. It ruined their beautiful moment. She's screaming once again
Yes,
in their
screaming
beautiful
again.
moment.
And she screams about Harriet, Harriet.
I
I
like
know.
Knightley's little exuberance, but it was just...
And in the book and
She
in the
was
other
awful.
in the book and in the Gwyneth version, she wasn't thinking about Harriet during her own proposal. Let's be honest.
right.
She
thinks
loves
about it after,
Knightley,
but
and she's
yes, in the Gwyneth one,
I'm happy. This is what I
yes,
wanted.
and they have a beautiful
it
moment,
says-
which is what we want as viewers.
Yes, and it says in the book where I wrote it down. It says in the book something about what was her response? Just what it says. What did she say? She
Yes.
said just what she ought. A lady always does.
Yes.
I mean, is a lady having a nosebleed freaking out? No.
No.
It's showing
No.
her. It doesn't even say what she says
No.
in response to him, but it says.
darling and beautiful in the Gwyneth version. It says how Knightley rode through the rain. I'd ride through
I'd
worse.
worse through worse if I could just hear
I'm
your
gonna
voice
cry
telling
again.
me. I
Yes.
know.
How
it's
much
beautiful.
more romantic is it? They
Yes.
have their moment, and
And
this one
the cherry
ruined it.
blossoms are
The
blowing through
2020
the
ruined
breeze.
it.
Yes.
They're both tearing up, and
Yes.
Knightley says, "Marry me, my wonderful."
Darling, beautiful,
Darling
darling friend. And it is
Oh,
just
how romantic!
it is
beautiful.
one of the
Best
most beautiful
ever.
proposals. I
Best
think it is the
ever.
most beautiful proposal.
I honestly feel like this is the best adaptation of any
Jane Austen.
I
I mean,
in my
listen,
humble opinion,
and
my
for 2
husband
hours.
was bawling.
For
at
2
the end.
hours.
Bawling.
Yes, for 2
I said,
hours,
this is
it's
the
just as
greatest
good.
thing ever.
It's just as good as like a 6 hour. I mean,
Yeah.
they packed everything in there, and
Yes.
it wasn't boring.
Yes.
It was quick.
Yep.
It was
the other
fast.
one is just, that was all I can say. That's about it. I mean, I liked how they held hands at the wedding. That's about it. That's all I got to say for the whole
Well, and they
proposal
didn't show
and marriage.
in
and it
the
was just,
Gwyneth version. They show how everyone was so happy, but there was one person who this news was not
they
joyful,
tied
and they
that
show
in
kind of a
beautifully
silhouette of
again.
Harriet leaving in tears because
Once
now
again, beautiful
she's
camera
lost her
work,
guy.
beautiful segues,
And
seamless.
and they use the quote from the
Seamless.
book, but it's Emma was trying to figure out what to do about
Yeah.
Harriet, but it seemed impossible that even Harriet Smith could be in love with 3 men in 1 year.
Yes, so
It's
that you
directly
weren't
from
left
the
on a
book.
dour note. I mean,
What's she gonna do?
absolutely gorgeous.
And she
Yeah.
comes back, and of course she
The
gets engaged to Robert.
reconciliation
and-
between
yeah.
the
It's
two
so
in the
sweet.
Gwyneth is gorgeous,
They're crying.
beautiful.
And your happiness has made mine complete.
Yep.
They love each other.
Yep.
Yes, they're sweet. They're best friends.
I did like in the 2020 how they were behind the screen. Since they had
Yes,
made such a
that
big
was
thing of
cute.
the screen throughout
Yes.
the whole movie. that
Knightley
was
said, "I
cute.
think I feel it. I think I feel a draft." And of course, they bring the screens over,
Yes.
so that was quite clever of him to
Yes.
let him and
That
Emma
was
be
my
alone.
favorite part of
And
the whole thing.
and I think that kind of showed what their life may be like, because
Yeah.
you thought, well, he's got to move in there, because she says, "I can't leave him." And he said, "If Highbury
Yes.
is to be your home, let it be my home too."
Yes,
it was
right,
sweeter in the other
right,
one, I think.
right.
But he does tell her, "I'll live here." And
Yes.
she's like, "You will." And
Yes.
then behind the screen, they get to
That-
have their kiss.
That
The
was
kiss-
the only sweet moment.
The kiss
but
was lovely.
the whole proposal moment was literally ruined.
The
Trashed.
proposal
right
was
down the
ruined.
toilet.
Yes.
Right
down the toilet.
I prefer the Gwyneth version where you see them happy and the wedding ceremony, right? And everyone's happy and they
Yes,
kiss and it's
yes.
sweet and it's blissful. And then, like you said, it wraps it all up.
Yes.
But
And there's
what does
another
it-
quote I want
what
to...
is the Miss Elton quote that
Yes,
you love,
the
right?
Miss Elton quote. Well, and this is taken, again, directly from the book. There
They
was another
zoom in
joke.
on her face.
There was a shocking lack of satin. And she throws her confetti, and that's what she did say in the book. There were those who thought the wedding too shabby or whatever,
Yes.
And it's just more comedy and more,
Absolutely,
but like I said,
Yep.
true to the mark. It's true to it's true to Jane Austen.
And like you said, I mean, basically to sum up,
yes,
the 2020 version.
And there's one thing I wanted to say that I forgot to put in these notes. At the end, they have, the narrator, who is Mrs. Weston, actually, is narrating the Gwyneth.
Of the Gwyneth
version.
Okay.
And it's almost exactly the same, almost exactly word for word in the book.
Okay.
When she says the wishes, the hopes, the confidence, the predictions of the small band of true friends who witnessed the ceremony were fully answered in the perfect happiness of the union. It's Jane Austen.
It's
it's
poetry.
Beautiful. It's like poetry.
Absolute poetry.
Yes.
This woman was a master storyteller.
Yes.
And you see that in this movie.
You see it.
You see the masterfulness of Jane Austen in a film.
Yes.
And that's what makes it above every other one, and there will never be one to touch it, in my opinion.
Yes.
To touch the Gwyneth Paltrow one, and this 2020 version did not.
It encapsulates Jane's her wit, her sentimentality, her romance, every sweet moment, every romantic moment. Every, exciting moment. There was everything in this version. It was perfect.
I agree. So, in our opinion, save yourself the $20.
No, you can go see it, of course.
It's always fun to watch. No,
yes.
like we said, it's always fun to watch. But the Gwyneth version cannot be beat, in our opinion, and never will be.
And of course, because, they kept so much of the dialogue from the book.
Yes, and we hope that this inspires you to go back and watch the Gwyneth version.
Yes.
You will not be disappointed.
No.
Get some popcorn, get your hubby, you can watch it together, and you'll have a wonderful night.
You wouldn't go amiss if you brought your fan too, because
Jeremy
Northam is not at all unpleasant to look at.
That's right. He ain't no Sidney
Mrs.
Parker,
Bates.
but
Miss Bates.
He'll do just fine.
Jane said he was not at all unpleasant to look at.
Right? You don't say.
Yeah.
You don't
He's
say.
very handsome.
Well, we hope you have enjoyed this. We wish you a pleasant evening.
Yes, and please don't forget to subscribe.
Yes.
To like our channel, like our videos, comment, tweet, all of that. Do it all for us.
Yes.
We're so happy that you're here.
Give us the quote, dear.
We forgot that part in the proposal when she says, but what am I? I'm so undeserving in my makeup to deserve you. And he says, and what are my faults? I have lectured you and you have borne it as no other woman in England could have borne it. It's so beautiful.
It is beautiful. Another one. Well, it's okay. We'll put it in the outtakes.
All right.
So it's not all is lost,
All
dear.
right. Wait a minute. Give it a moment. Let it breathe. All right.
Good evening, and welcome to the Sister Sanditon. This is our part 2 review.
Sorry. I just want to say good evening, and welcome to Masterpiece Theatre. I'm Alistair Cook.
All right, dear, you're taking over this time.
No, I'm sorry. I just, for some reason, when you said that, I couldn't get it out of my mind, little old Alistair. I'm Alistair Cook. Sorry, go ahead. I've always wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Good evening.
Wait! Wait! There's got to be a fan gesture for that.
I was going to say, do you have a fan for kiss off? Okay.
I hate you. All right. Okay. Why do I have this thing?
I know, I kept holding it. Thinking, what do I do with this? There's no Sydney. There's no need of it.
It is rather hot in this room. Yes, it is rather hot in here.
All right.
All right. Every Hottentot can dance. Every savage can dance. You know what that's from?
No.
Every savage can dance. That's Mr. Darcy says that. Oh, I'm Bridget.
Okay.
You really don't know your Austen, dear.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to part 2 of our 2020 Emma review. We're also comparing and contrasting the 2020 Emma to the Gwyneth Paltrow version, which is our all-time favorite.
We are the Sisters Sanditon. Perhaps you should tell them who we are. Branding and all that.
You do it yourself, dear.